Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. I tell people when they come in, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. We've got the capability to process it, make it. If you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do your brisket blend. We'll do your chuck blend. We'll do your sirloin blend. We do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. It's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show. This is the Stingray Show, and coming up on this edition, we are about to be joined by a legendary SEC head coach that coached at Boise State, then was the head coach at Arkansas, and then Ole Miss. He coached at Arkansas from 1998 through 2007, and his overall winning percentage as a coach or record was 135 and 96, and he was three-time SEC Coach of the Year. Please, we are about to be joined by Houston Nutt, the Right Reverend, on this edition of the Stingray Show to talk about his career in coaching and talk about the Ryan Silverfield hire up on the hill in Fayetteville, as they say. That's all ahead on this edition of the Stingray Show.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Look out, you're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No.
Hey, Stingray, Here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good. It's kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah. But then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, with the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
And with that, I want to welcome you inside the Tuesday edition of the Stingray Show. Hope all is well with you, and we are about to be joined by a legend in the coaching profession who not only coached but played at Arkansas and then transferred to Oklahoma State. He has coaching stops at Arkansas, Murray State, Boise State, and then the head coach of Arkansas and Ole Miss. He was also an analyst for CBS Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome back to the Stingray Show the Right Reverend himself, Houston Dale Nutt. Coach Nutt, how are things with you this morning?
Good morning. All good. All good. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing fantastic, and it's always great when you join us because you bring the fire and the excitement.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
So, Coach Nutt, I do want to start off right off the top. What are your thoughts on the coaching search and the hire of Ryan Silverfield there at Arkansas?
You know, I don't know Coach Silverfield, but just watching from afar, boy, he's done a good job, did a really good job at Memphis. And, of course, he beat some good teams. He beat South Florida. He beat Arkansas. And then what I've noticed here as of late, he right before signing day, he turned 3 or 4 players in the state of Arkansas. And so that got my attention. So, I'm excited about what he's doing. I haven't met him, and looks like he's putting together a pretty good staff. And so, looking forward to see what he's going to do for Arkansas.
Now, Coach, why do you feel like that the Sam Pittman hire didn't work out there at Arkansas?
Well, it's first of all, it's not an easy job. It's a tough job. Sam Pittman, I didn't know him, but I just watching him from afar, was always known as a really good recruiter. And if you noticed early on, there was a year where he beat Texas A&M,
Yeah.
had a really good season. The thing that's tough in this league is just it's the grind of the back to back to back, putting those classes together. And it looks like there's a couple of years there, you missed out on a few, whether it be linemen or just defensive linemen, secondary. You miss, and it doesn't take the one or two classes where, well, if you don't hit on every cylinder in this league, as you know, Stingray, this is the toughest league in America. And I don't know, it's tough. Everybody has different opinions. He's always seemed like a super guy, but like Coach Broyles used to tell me, he said he'd tell me that he loves that my players are graduating. He loves that they're involved in the community, but I pay you to win.
Right.
I pay you to win, and so that's what this thing's about, and it's not easy.
So, Coach, I do want to go back to where it all began for you there growing up in Arkansas. What was that like? And especially, did you have any kind of interaction with the late, great Bear Bryant?
Oh man, well, my father was from Fordyce, Arkansas,
Yeah.
and so I had the privilege to meet Coach Paul Bear Bryant and his wife Mary Harmon. They recruited me. And so there was a connection because my grandparents on my dad's side were very close with the Paul Bear Bryant family. And so there was a connection. And of course, I admired him so much for, he coached the great quarterbacks, Joe Namath, Kenny Stabler, Richard, Todd, all these great quarterbacks, and they always went to the next level. So I had a desire to play for him. And because he was from Fordyce, it made it even more special. But it's hard when you're from the state of Arkansas to leave your home. I was so loyal to my home state, but boy, it was tempting now, and especially to get to visit with Coach Bryant, and you see the national championships that he won, the SEC championships, and the way that he developed players and took them to the NFL. So it was a privilege. It was a privilege to meet this guy. And Mal Moore was his offensive coordinator. Lewis Campbell was also a coach who's from Arkansas. He's from Hamburg, and he was on that staff as well when they were recruiting me. So it was fun times, and I've always looked up to his teams.
So, Coach, how close was it to you coming to the University of Alabama?
Oh man, I want to tell you, it was very, very tough. Very tough. To turn down and say no to Coach Paul Bear Bryant. And if my mom and dad, if they wasn't just right there working for the state, and Coach Frank Broyles, Eddie Sutton, I got to play for two of those great guys. It's really tough. So in my mind, especially on the visit, I was coming to Alabama, no doubt in my mind. But when you get back home and you're surrounded by those hogs, it's really hard to go against that loyalty factor.
So, Coach, go ahead and talk about what it was like for you to play there at Arkansas, your alma mater, and your in-state school.
Well, I grew up watching those guys. Grew up watching my heroes, John Brittenham, Freddie Marshall, Kenny Hatfield, Jim Lindsey, Harry Jones. I could name them all. By the time I was 7 years of age, I knew how to call those hogs. My brothers and I, there was one big happening when the Little Rock, we didn't go to Fayetteville games. They had two stadiums in Little Rock and Fayetteville. So the Little Rock games, we were there, boy. And I mean, it was something. Right. And it was just a special time. My uncles would come up, my cousins, And so we knew when Razorback Day, Razorback game, we knew when it was happening. So fast forward as you're being recruited now, you go through all those memories of seeing your Razorback heroes come down that ramp, and to think, man, you could do that too. Even when you got to turn down the great Paul Bear Bryant, it was really a great time to be able to be a Razorback and play for Coach Rose. I was the last one he signed as a coach. I was the last also student athlete, the last player he signed as an athlete. So he was a guy that I learned so much from, and to play there was a good time. Now, I only played my freshman year for Coach Broyles, then Lou Holtz came in. Right. And Lou Holtz was phenomenal, just absolutely attention to detail. And if you remember now, my freshman year wasn't a very good year. We were expected to do very good. Didn't have a good year. Coach Broyles resigns. Here comes Lou Holtz. We go all the way to the Orange Bowl. And who do we play? Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, Barry Switzer's team is probably about a 30-point favorite. And Coach Lou Holtz, we had to kick off 3 of our best players for that game, and we end up winning that Orange Bowl 31-6. So a lot of great memories, and I'm a fortunate victim of circumstance because I got to be around the greatest coaches in the world. Start with my father, Frank Broyles, and then Don Bro was the quarterback coach there for Coach Lou Holtz. You had Jimmy Johnson on the staff there in my freshman year with Frank Broyles. So Ken Turner, Jesse Branch, Larry Bechtel. You had all these great coaches that I got to learn from. And then, of course, when you play for them, it's a special feeling.
Coach, I got to ask you, I read Lou Holtz's book, Winning Every Day. I absolutely love that book. He told that story. Matter of fact, he told a great story of whatever you guys' last game was in the regular season. He said fans kept throwing oranges on the field every time you guys scored. And after the game, oranges were coming down. The sideline reporter goes, Coach, what do you think about all these oranges? He goes, I'm just glad we're not going to the Gator Bowl, which made me laugh. Typical Lou Holtz fashion.
Coach Holtz was quick. He was quick, man. He was so quick, so good, had great stories. And I remember that quote that you're talking about exactly, to say like yesterday.
But playing, and I always said I didn't have the ability. I wish the good Lord did bless me with the ability, but I always wanted to play for Coach Holtz. Read his book, loved his book. When I was a young reporter straight out of college, I was getting to interview him when he was at South Carolina at SEC Media Days. And also a young coach named Houston Nutt was there at SEC Media Days that I enjoyed interviewing as well. But looking back, what were some things that Coach Holtz might have said, might have did that you picked up on and you used as a coach?
Well, there's several things. The number one thing that he always used was the 3 questions. Can I trust you? Are you committed? And do you care? And in the same breath, he'd say, because we got some coaches that trust, we got some coaches that are committed, and we got some coaches that care about you. So we need that from you. So as that player, you're always, you're wanting him to be trustable, committed, and care. And so that was a great lesson. The other thing is he held everybody accountable. There's one thing about, if he says hand on the line, you can't be 1 inch in front of the line or 1 inch behind the line. You have to be hand on the line. And it's just the little bitty things that he taught over and over and over that were so precious and so valuable to me that he taught what was on film is exactly what you're teaching. It's easy to say, one day as a grad assistant, I said, boy, Coach, I went over that play 500 times. What? I went over that play with him 500 times. And he says, obviously you're a very poor teacher because I know how smart this guy is. And so don't say he doesn't get it, or don't say this player just not smart enough, or he just, that's you. That's your responsibility. So that type of accountability is very powerful, very powerful.
So, Coach, when did you know that you wanted to get into coaching?
Well, that's a great question because I always thought I was going to the NFL, NBA, or both. And so that brutal day, I've always was picked first. I've been blessed in my neighborhood. I was picked first on pickup games, whether it be basketball, football, or baseball. And it was like that all the way through. And I had a lot of scholarship offers. But there was one horrible day where for the first time in my life, my name wasn't called. And that was on draft day.
Right.
And so then I went to a camp for lasted probably maybe 24 to 48 hours. When I came back to Stillwater, Jimmy Johnson was there and he was jogging and he asked me, "Hey, what are you going to do now? You lack about 3 hours. I heard camp didn't go so well. So what are you thinking?" I said, well, I was going to give him a good answer. I said, "Coach Johnson, I'm going to keep working out, keep lifting and training because I know I'm supposed to be in the NFL, NBA, or both." He said, "Okay, well, listen, until that time comes, you'll be in the athletic dorm in Iba Hall. You'll be taking care of my freshmen. And you're going to be a graduate assistant since I'm paying for your school." And underneath my breath, as he jogged off, I said, "Man, who does this guy? This is 100 degrees, and his hair was perfect. Not one hair out of place." I said, "Who's this guy think he is? Going to tell me I'm going to live in the Iba Dome?" And what I didn't realize, if I would have said no that day, there was 50 resumes on his desk. Somebody wanted my spot. And so, Stingray, to answer your question, the night before conditioning test, I had 7 freshmen come in my dorm room, scared to death. Coach Nutt. That was the first time I was called Coach Nutt. I literally had to look around in the bedroom. Who you talking? Oh, Coach, that's me. And these freshmen say, Coach Nutt, what's Coach Johnson going to do to us tomorrow on the conditioning test?" And I knew that night in that room, those eyes I had them in the palm of my hand. They were listening to every word I said. And so I knew that night I was supposed to be a coach. And you fast forward those 2-a-days. At the end of 2-a-days, Coach Jimmy Johnson made a statement in front of the staff. And we had like George Wallstead, we had Frank Falks, Pat Jones. We had a great staff. And now I'm the grad assistant who sits in the back. And Jimmy Johnson says, we didn't have a freshman skip an academic meeting. We didn't have a freshman pull the fire alarm. We didn't have one missed practice, not one quit. I'm going to give that credit to Houston with the freshmen. And I punched Pat Jones and I says, "What did he say? He's bragging on you." And so, that time I knew that I was supposed to be a difference maker for a 17, 18, or 19-year-old right there.
Gotcha.
Coach, if you had to pick the Mount Rushmore of coaches, who would it be? Who are the greatest football coaches in your mind?
Are you talking about right now? Or are you talking about for all time?
All time. Who would you say are the top 4 football coaches of all time?
Okay. Paul Bear Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm.
Lou Holtz. Jimmy Johnson.
Wow. Tell us a story about Jimmy Johnson, Coach. What made him so good? Because I was a fan of Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson is enthusiasm, passionate. He believed. He knew how to hit the right buttons. The greatest example I can give you is when I'm a senior in Stillwater, Oklahoma. We've had 12 straight days of heat index 110, 111, 112. And he would come in that training room, and I'm talking about real 2-a-days, real 2-a-days. Not this walk and talk. I'm talking about we were hitting it. We were beat up. That second week towards the end, boy, we were hitting about our 13th, 14th practice. And he comes in the training room. We're getting tape. Everybody raring to go, all hyped up. We're sitting there. We're hating life, like, yeah, Coach. Come on, guys, let's go, with just bouncing around, and I'm thinking, we're shaking our head like, oh, God, we got to somehow get through this 100-degree day. We go to the field turf. And we're going through stretch, and he's coming around and, feeling good. He's the only one talking, just hyped up, ready to go. And so we get through a stretch line, and he says, "Hey, everybody take your helmet off and your shoulder pads and put them there on the sideline." He said, "In fact, go ahead and take off your pants and just leave your shorts on and come back." And we're thinking, we're going to go shorts now. He's going to listen. Man, we went from gloom to doom. All of a sudden, we're feeling a little bit better now. We're going to have a shorts practice. And he calls everybody up and says, do y'all believe in me? He said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, follow me. He walks us out of the stadium and walks us 700 yards to the university swimming pool. Now, you're talking about 105 guys who hated life, who hated football, so beat up and sore, thinking, how are we going to get through that? All of a sudden, you got 105 guys in this swimming pool. We're hitting a volleyball. We're in this cool blue water. We're diving off the board. Jimmy Johnson's diving off the pool. And he comes by me and says, how do you like it? I said, Coach, I love it. I love it. Well, now the next day, he got it out of us. But we were ready, though. Mm-hmm. We were ready to give back because he gave to us. He gave us a break. So he knew exactly how to hit the right buttons. But here's the biggest thing that he taught me. I had, little league coaches sometimes say, the coach would say, I treat everybody the same. I'm sure you heard that. I treat everybody the same. Make it all fair. Jimmy Johnson would tell us point blank, I don't treat anyone the same. And here's a great example. We're in a meeting room. And there's a guy that falls asleep in a meeting room. And he's a guy that's missed class. He's a guy that's been late for meetings. He's the guy that's his name shows up on a list. Coach Johnson kicks that chair and says, get out. Get out. It's not important enough to you. Get out of the meeting room. Next week, a guy by the name of Thurman Thomas, a gold jacket winner, he falls asleep in the back seat. He goes back there in the back of the room to where Thurman is and whispers, Thurman, wake up. Thurman, wake up. And so my point is, if he treated you to what he felt like the way you've earned to be treated.
Right.
And so if you're making plays and you're going to class and you're doing things right, he may whisper in your ear when you fall asleep, wake up. But if you're not going to class and if you're not doing things right, and you just seem like you just won't execute your assignment on the field, guess what? You're going to be treated much differently. Yes.
Yeah. See ya.
See ya. Bye. That's right.
Coach, I read the book Boys Will Be Boys, and the guys in the book, the players from the Cowboys, talked about they won in spite of Jimmy. He said Jimmy was just a nomad. He was crazy. He was over the top. He goes, we all couldn't stand him, and we won despite him. And then Barry Switzer came in, which you talked about earlier, and he goes, Barry let us do whatever we wanted to, and we played for him because he treated us like men. He did this and that. And I thought those styles were so contrast, but they both worked. You were around both those guys. You know about both of those. I don't know if you ever read that book, Boys Will Be Boys. Excellent read, by the way. It's insane, over the top. But looking back at Jerry Jones and Barry Switzer and coaching styles, and you've been in the world and you've done it for a long time, can you comment on how drastically different those things are, and they both worked? And what did you take from each of them?
Yeah. Well, Barry Switzer could probably easily be on that Mount Rushmore too. I didn't play for him, but I was around him, and I got to know him, and he's great. And I tell you what he did. Coach Barry Switzer is one of the best recruiters in the world, and he knows how to engage, man. And players loved him. And I can tell you from this day, from Billy Sims, the people that I've met that's been around him, they love this guy. And so there's something about when a player is 18, 19 years old, they don't care how much you know, X and O wise. They really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
And that's where, to me, where Barry Switzer wins them over. These players knew, these mamas, they knew that he cared. And so when you get one like that, and then you have one, you've been in that living room, and then now they come to your living room and they eat at your table, there's something about where that player will go through a wall.
Yes.
He will go the distance for that coach. And that's what I miss the most about coaching. I hadn't had a team in 15 years. It's the relationships. with a Darren McFadden, a Matt Jones, a Jonathan Louise, Bo Lacey. I mean, all these guys still have contact with all of them. Felix Jones, so many. David Barrett, Kanoy Kennedy, Zach Painter. I mean, Ryan Hale, Russell Grant. I mean, Russ Brown, Grant Garrett. All these guys that stay in contact. It's the relationships. You know, that's what you miss, and that's where Barry Switzer, I think, was at the over the top. You talking about over the top? He's over the top. But the players were like this for him, and that's why he could win national titles with talent.
Right.
You got to have talent. Jimmy Johnson wasn't too good in the NFL the first year until he got who? Troy Aikman,
Yes.
Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith. You know, so you got to have players, but there's something about taking those players where they can't go by themselves. You take it to another level, and that's where the coach comes in.
So, Coach Nutt, I do want to ask you, because early in your career, you were a position coach, a quarterback and wide receiver, and then wide receiver coach at Arkansas. And then you got your first head coaching job at Murray State, then Boise State, and then Arkansas. What was that transition like for you of going from a position coach to the main man of head coach there at Murray State?
Yeah, that's a great question because of this. When you go for that room where you got 10 players, where you're the head coach of those 10 players, and then all of a sudden you jump into that seat where you're in charge of 110, 115, 105, whatever it may be. Now every question that comes across, every problem that comes across your desk, now you're in charge of what are they eating today? What are they wearing today?
Oh, he must have gotten a call.
It's here's where Murray State really helped me. It was a smaller 1AA school where I only had one media person after each practice compared to Arkansas or Ole Miss where you got 30. So I had a chance to grow and learn and make mistakes without the just pressure of just constant scrutiny. And so I could learn kind of on the run. And so I feel sorry for a lot of times that for the ones that go from a offensive coordinator in a big Division I program to a big Division I, head coach. And you can ask Kirby, I don't care if it's Kirby Smart, his first year, Will Muschamp. That's a tough transition. And that's why it's such a great question, is because it's not easy, because there's not a book on, hey, how do you be a head coach? Well, there's a lot of different ways. As you mentioned, there's a lot of different ways to do it. The one thing you can't do, you can't be fake, because an 18, 19-year-old, they're going to know. You got to be you. And they want somebody that's trustable, somebody that's committed, and somebody that cares. And so it goes back to those lessons that I learned from all the great coaches, starting with my father, who was a coach. And that Murray State, those 4 years were some of the best years. I had Mike Cherry, who I recruited to Arkansas. He transferred. And then I recruited a lot of Arkansas kids that Arkansas Razorbacks didn't want. And man, we won 2 titles there. And boy, it was a great feeling to kind of learn on the run without the high pressure of just being scrutinized on every turn.
Right.
Coach, I can't help but think it. We've had you on the show before, and I've asked you this before, but it's that time of year. College football playoffs getting ready to get started this weekend.
I lost the audio, guys.
Coach, you may have to hold on. He may have to exit and come back because of that phone call. Just a second.
All right. We got you, Coach.
Just a second.
Coach has one of those fancy fans on top of his ceiling there. That's nice.
Yep. That's what happens when you get a phone call. It messes up the audio and it messes up everything.
See, when we were on the radio, everybody, we bleep this stuff out. We'd edit it out. and you never got it. And now we're doing it live, and you get to see all the fun, our mistakes, their mistakes, anyone's mistakes. They're not really mistakes, just technical
No.
mishaps here and there.
Yeah.
But there's been plenty of times on the radio show we would start a question and we'd mess it up, and we'd be like, all right, hang on, stop. We'd count it down again and start a question again. Yeah. So, do it on air. Now you've just got to roll with it and have fun with it. But I always say the on air stuff, this kind of thing, it usually draws people in because they see how you react to problems and
Right.
things like that. So,
All right. He closed out, so now he will be back here just momentarily.
So, Steven, since I came in late from running everybody around town and getting my son to school for exams, what did I miss, though, or your first question or two?
What his thoughts were about the coaching hire of Ryan Silverfield, and he said that he did not know him, but he looked like he was a great coach there out of Memphis.
I got you.
So, Coach Nutt, we're back now.
Back.
Yes, sir.
Sudden change.
Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
So, go ahead with your question, okay?
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Coach, I asked you this question when you were on the show before, but it's that time of year. The college football playoff starts this weekend, and I cannot help that the Right Reverend Houston Nutt had so many great teams that you took to Atlanta, and you might have fell short, this or that, but you had so many great teams that I thought could really advance in the playoffs, if not go very far in the playoffs. Your thoughts, if you were coaching and some of those great teams that you had, how far would you have gone, Coach? I mean, talk about that experience of what could have been if you had the playoff. I really think about that 98 team that you had at Arkansas. That was a special team, but just a couple of your teams and how you think you would have done in today's football and college football playoff.
You know, I'm so glad you brought that up. That's the one thing. Just sitting on the sideline with my popcorn and Coke watching. I love this playoff.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's 4 of my teams that would have been right there. Would have been right there getting invited to this thing. And they wouldn't want to play us in December. We'd be a bad draw. And you mentioned one of them, 98. The 98 team would be really good. I think because our defense was so quick and fast. And then, of course, we had Clint Sterner, Anthony Lucas, Madre Hills, Chris Chakuma had some good backs, Cedric Cobbs. And so we had speed. And then you look at the 2002 team, the Matt Jones group, Sean Andrews, Jason Peters, that group. And then you go Darren McFadden, Felix Jones, the 2006, 2017. Those teams, I think we could have got in there and then watch out. You know, who knows? You get on this roll, you get healthy. And that's the one thing about Murray State that taught me about that playoff is, man, it's the one that stays out of the training room. It's the team that stays healthy and stays fresh towards that run. You never know. Even though you got beat 2 times at the front of the year, all of a sudden, boy, you lick your wounds. You got this little we're in the tournament. We're in the tournament. And it's just win and advance. Survive and advance. And all of a sudden you could look up and say, woo. And I think you could get your players pumped up about it. And that's where I feel like Arkansas, I think you could do it. You know, you look at Indiana and Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
You know, this world that we're in now, you buy the right ones. You know, we don't really need you don't necessarily have to have, to me, the great the recruiting of Barry Switzer and, you know, Jimmy Johns, all those great, you got to have a bag now.
Right.
You got to have a bag because that's the last 2 words. My brother still coaches basketball at the University of Missouri and at Ouachita Baptist. And, you know, he says, hey, we still do the same thing. We try to develop those relationships the way you did, brother. But at the end, there's 2 words that the mother and everybody's going to ask. How much?
Yes.
How much? So we're in a different world, but this playoff deal, to go back to your question, man, I think it's exciting. And that's where I think there's got to be some change, though. There's got to be some change because there's some teams, Notre Dame, Texas, Vanderbilt. Boy, I sure would like to see them in there.
Yep.
And that's what I was going to follow up with, Coach.
Yeah, that's a great point. I just feel like I could see us being heartbroken. Boy, they're going to keep us, Arkansas, out one year. We had a good team, Save McFadden. The Texas, Vanderbilt. The Texas is playing much better towards the end of the year. Vanderbilt with his quarterback, Pavier. I mean, this guy is special, man. And I'd love to see Vanderbilt right. Wouldn't you love to see Vanderbilt, Texas right now, or Vanderbilt, whoever, Oregon or whatever? And there's nothing against James Madison. It's nothing against. They have great years, but I wish they would be more in a different championship because I think it's going to be hard. Let's be realistic, guys. Because I coached at that level, it's going to be hard for a James Madison to win 3 or 4 straight now, guys.
Right.
On the road, you got to go on the road and hey, look, I wish them the best, and I got a lot of respect for what they did, but I hate that a team like Notre Dame, Texas, Vanderbilt, and maybe one other team, I hate that they're left out.
Right. Coach, I feel like this, and I'm not saying my answer's right, but I think we need to extend the playoffs.
Yes.
8 more teams. Let's have 24 teams. But here's the thing. Everyone that plays in a conference championship game gets a bye. Both teams. Both teams that are playing the SEC championship game, they both get a bye. And yeah, that people are like, well, that's an automatic bid. I'm like, you won your conference. I think that's fair enough to get an automatic bid. Because let's face it, the 24th team is not going to win the national title. We all know it. Are we going to root for them and love the underdog? Yes.
Yes.
But, and heaven forbid if it's a team like Duke, that, a 7-win team that happens to win, I'm okay if we put them at 24. I'm okay if we set them right there. But I think that it includes a little bit more and this and that. But me and Steven made the joke about it. Basketball, it used to be 48 teams, and we made it 64, and now we got the play-in games, and now we got 68. No one's going to be happy. Everyone's going to want more. But who wants less football? Nobody. Right. Who wants more football?
Right.
Everybody. Me. I do.
I'm with you. I'm with you 1,000%. I'm with you. I always kid my brothers. They always they're talking about the Cinderella team, and they're always like I talked about your number's gone from 60 to 80 to play-in games. Your number keeps going up, and there's always could be a Cinderella team, but that's a little bit different in basketball.
Yeah.
Right.
And compared to the football, it's just the way it is. And but I'm with you. I think the expansion's coming right after this year. I think because of just what happened this year, I think it's coming quick. And so I'm looking forward to it. But I do like the playoffs, and I'm with you. Might as well go 24. And I like champions being rewarded. I think right. You asked me, Stephen, back 2 or 3 years ago, what would you do if you were the czar for the day or something like that? And back then, I think it's 4 or 5 years ago, I said, give me the 4 champions. Right. And give me the 3. Let's go get the next 4 at large, the best 4, something like that, or 5 champions and 3 at large to have 8. But that was 4 years ago. So here we are now. We're in a 12-game playoff. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to this Alabama, Oklahoma. I'm looking forward to all these games. But deep down, I'm thinking, doggone, I like to see Vanderbilt in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, Coach, I want to go back to your career briefly. You were the coach at Boise State, and then you got the opportunity to become the head coach at Arkansas. How did that opportunity come about? And talk about what it took to get you from Boise State to Fayetteville, Arkansas, your alma mater.
Well, it took this. I had success at Murray State. And so Boise State came to get me because they were making a transition from 1AA to Division I. And when I went out there, I was way away from home now. And I had to show Diana where this was on the map. Like, are we going where? I said, I think we got to go to Boise State. They've offered this job, and they're making that transition. And the people out there love football. And so I was excited about that. When we expected to be there 5, 6, 10 years. We don't go to a place looking for the next one. We go to a place just like Murray State to be there, and make it happen. I think it's important too for coaches to do your best at the job where you are, where your feet are. Because if you start looking over the fence every time you're at the place where you're working, to me, it never works that way. You got to do the job there. So So I followed a tough situation. Pokey Allen was he passed the former coach at Boise State. He passed, and I think they won one game. And we came in there and won five, and then we won the last game, the rival. We beat Idaho, and up in Idaho. And so I tell you, our fans were pumped. But then Arkansas had two back-to-back, 4-7, 4-7s. And I got the opportunity to interview. I was one of 14 to interview at the University of Arkansas. But because of Murray State, those two championships, and then the turnaround at Boise State, that kind of put me, it gave me a chance to at least interview. And I think the committee and Coach Broyles knew one thing. I wanted the job more than anyone else.
Yeah.
I didn't care what the pay was. I wanted the job. I wanted that place where I grew up, that state of I wanted that job more than, and I know, and Coach Broyles said, this is a tough job. We just had a Hall of Fame coach here. Danny Ford's a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
He won a national title at Clemson. And he was 4-7 and 4-7. And he said it's very difficult because of the grind of playing back-to-back on Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Florida. It's the grind of back-to-back playing great, great ball clubs every Saturday. No off Saturdays. And so I was excited about the challenge, and I didn't know if I was going to get the job, Stephen, because if you look at the resume of Tuberville, he was in it a little bit longer. Francione had a lot of guys that their resume was thicker. But I think it went back to that interview. I think the committee knew one thing. Hey, I bleed red, and I know about them hogs, and I know the history of it and the tradition of it. And no one wants this job. I would have worked for free. And so they gave me a great opportunity. Jim Lindsay was the chairman of the committee with Scott Bull, Quinn Grovey, some of those guys. And Jim Lindsay, I think, really helped me a lot to push it over the edge, to give me to make me the choice of Arkansas. He gave my name to Coach Broyles, and I think won the other committee members over.
Yes.
Coach, who did you really enjoy beating? I mean, becoming the head coach of Arkansas, now you're facing all these great college coaches in the SEC. Who did you just smile at? Walking off the field, driving home, being with your wife that night, whatever it might be. I just beat so and so. I mean,
yeah.
Who were some guys you were excited to get the best of, Coach?
Well, you know what? It was there's quite a few because the first time that we played Alabama, I could not sleep during the week because I visited Alabama, Bear Bryant. Stephen, you asked about how close it was to me going to Alabama, so I knew about the tradition also of Alabama, and so there'd be nights. Donna says, "What's wrong?" 2:00 in the morning. I said, "It's Alabama week." So Alabama, Sean Alexander, 240-pound tailback, runs 4.5, runs 4.4. They got linemen 6'6", 6'5", and she's trying to comfort me, and I'm thinking, I just don't want to, embarrass the state of Arkansas. That was my whole mindset. Man, I don't want to embarrass. I want to please these fans so bad, and I wanted our players to have some success. And I didn't know. Because remember, Burlsworth and Sterner and they were foreign. They hadn't had any success.
Right.
Hadn't been to a bowl game, and so I'll never forget how hard it was. How hard our players played, and the laser focus, and to look up at that scoreboard and see that score that was lopsided. A team that I had at the highest, Paul Bear Bryant. That's all I think. Paul Bear Bryant. We're playing Paul Bear Bryant today. That was my mindset. And to go off that field in Fayetteville, Arkansas, with every fan still in there that was awesome. The other one's Tennessee and Fayetteville, where the 98, we lost a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
We should have won. That team could have won the national championship. I really believe that. We lost a heartbreaker. We're trying to run out the clock. We lose that game. The next year they come back. It's funny because it was the exact same score. Tennessee in 98 beat us 28-24. They come back to Tennessee. We beat Tennessee, the defending national champions, 28-24. Our suited body takes the goalpost all the way to Dixon Street. That's beautiful. And the other thing is the LSU games in Little Rock.
Oh yeah.
The LSU games in Little Rock was always on Turkey Day on a Friday.
Right.
You eat your Thanksgiving meal on Thursday with your team, and then Little Rock was going to be rocking. And all those memories come back of that little boy going to the game, calling the hogs, watching fans hold up 2 fingers and 3 fingers and 4 fingers. I said, Dad, what are they doing? They need tickets, son. I said, do we have our tickets? Oh, yeah. We're in the end zone. We're ready. And so all those memories come back, and LSU, to see them pick up that boot, that the David Basil, former Razorback, made that trophy, because remember, Arkansas, the Southwest Conference, we had Texas
Right.
rival. And SEC, we really didn't have a rival.
Right.
But LSU was kind of manufactured, And so David did a great job with that. And then you talk about Texas, Stephen, I saw you doing this.
Yeah.
But Texas is one, we hadn't won a bowl game in 15 years. In year 2000, we're in the Cotton Bowl, the famous Cotton Bowl. One of my favorite bowl is the Cotton Bowl. And Darrell Royal and Frank Broyles were there all week long as honorary captains. And you talking about just a nervous wreck. Just a nervous wreck. All these the hotels and again, it goes back. Boy, I just don't want to embarrass the state of Arkansas, man. We're playing Texas, and I think about Earl Campbell, and I think about all these great players, James Street. I'm going through all this, Texas, and then you look up at that scoreboard, and you win that game, and you held them for negative yards rushing. We were physical, and there's always that's great memory. And then the 2 of the longest games in the world, to beat Eli Manning in Oxford. 7 overtime. I'm talking about real overtime, those guys.
Right.
This overtime we're playing now is not real overtime.
Nope.
No.
And they'll get mad at me for saying that, but I believe that though.
Right.
And then we go to Kentucky, and Kentucky scored 71 points in 7 overtimes against Jared Lorenzen, that big quarterback, that big 280-pound guy. Bless his heart, he's passed away, rest his soul. But what a player, and what a game,
Mm-hmm.
But there's just some great memories, guys.
Coach Nutt, I've got 2 questions left for you because I know that you were on a time crunch. This has been an absolute blast. The first one, you talked about representing the state of Arkansas. You took Arkansas 2 separate times to the SEC championship there in Atlanta. Talk about what that meant for you to take Arkansas to the SEC championship.
Yeah. Well, it should have been 3. We won 3 Western titles, but the first one, we stumped our toe there. We let that one game beat us twice, Mississippi State in Starkville. Jackie Sherrill got us. And it should have been 3. But going to that game is almost bigger than a bowl game. The hype of that and the fans, man, the hoopla down there is just unbelievable. Now, we were beat up in 2002 when we went there and we played David Pollock, Richard Seymour, who we could not block. Oh, my gosh, what players Georgia had. And we were coming off we had some guys in a training room. We were beat up. And so that was a tough game against Georgia. The one that keeps me up at night, there's 2 games, Tennessee in 98, and then the 07 Florida game, championship game, the second one in the SEC Atlanta championship game. We got that game. We were out playing them. Chris Leak, Tebow, although Urban Meyer knew that we had this guy, Coach Meyer, faked a punt on the minus 14-yard line. He had to do something. And he got it. Now, the very next 3 downs, we stop him. But Peyton Hillis is hurt, and we have a freshman return a punt, and we fumble that punt. And that was a killer. That was a killer because I felt like we were better than them and really outplayed them. So those couple games keep you up. But playing in that game just gives you a sense of pride of your Western Division champ. I hate now, guys, really that they don't divide this thing up. I love when
I'm with you.
Western. There's some because it helps you recruiting. It helps you. It gave you some pride, and we're Western Division champions. Instead of just putting them all in a pile, I think that Eastern Western really meant something. It helped recruiting, and it gave you big time sense of pride when you were champions, on that side of
Yeah.
the conference.
Coach, I know they'll never do this. I've had this idea for decades. But, everyone's talking about adding the ninth game. And I've always said, don't add a ninth game. Make it a play-in game or a playoff game. And what I meant by that, back when we had East and West, I was like, let the team that finished second in the West travel to play the team that ended up first in the East, and vice versa. The second in the East has to travel to play the number one team in the West. And the winners go to the SEC championship. And all the other games, because everyone wants to argue about bowl games. Well, we should have been in this bowl game, and we don't want to go to the Tennessee bowl game. We want to go to the Florida bowl game, and we won't be playing on January 1st, and blah, 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 blah. Let's just play it out.
Yeah.
However you finish. 6 has to travel to 5, and you just do the whole thing down. And we actually have someone who does finish dead last in the SEC. Let everyone have one extra week. And I thought that would just be great for the SEC. There would be so much hoopla, as you said a second ago about the SEC championship. There would be so much buzz around those games. And it would be exciting. People, you can't do it. Yes, you can. I remember COVID. We made up games during the middle of the week. Hey, we were going to play so-and-so. Now we're playing so-and-so. And now we got the college football playoff. And now we don't know who we're playing. We got to watch. Yeah, we can't do this. Coach, are we ever going to get to a day in college football where we actually copy, whether it be the NFL or high school, and copy the playoff system and do it like that instead of these committees?
I think it's coming. I think we're closer than ever before. There's something about on the field, as you mentioned. It's on the field. It tells the true story.
Yeah.
And so I think it's coming. I really do. I think it's coming quick. I can't wait to hear some of the meetings they have after this year, especially with Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, Texas, these guys that were left out. I think it's coming. I really do. And then it maybe start the season a little bit, maybe a little bit earlier, because you're going to get in some finals. There's going to be some people talk about the scheduling conflicts with finals and stuff, but it can be worked out. It can be worked out.
Coach Nutt, my final question for you. You were a part of the CBS Sports family for a long time as an analyst. On December the 31st, legendary CBS broadcaster Gary Danielson will go into retirement after the Sun Bowl broadcast. If you would, please give us your thoughts on the legacy of Gary Danielson as a broadcaster.
Yeah. Gary Danielson is one of the best, and does such a great job. Of course, he played the game on every level, high school, college, and pro. And so his knowledge and background and his wisdom is so good. And I tell you what, and what a great guy. Great guy. Love being around the guy, and he's done so much for college football. He really has. And what a legend. And he's had a great career. We're going to really miss him. And he's had a tremendous career. If you talk to anyone at the CBS studio, they'll tell you they love Gary, love his attitude, and they love what he brings. Brings to the TV every single Saturday. And he starts. It's a grind, because he starts as soon as he gets home on a late Saturday night. It's the next day. He's right back at it, looking at film, watching and learning names and pronunciations. That's the one thing I learned at CBS pretty quick. A little bit more to it than just showing up in the studio. Now, you're going to have to do some homework and learn some pronunciations and get the stats and all those things together. And of course, CBS does a great job with all the researchers, and they give you all this information. But Gary Danielson he'll go down as one of the greatest, and he's done an outstanding job. And I miss him on the SEC side. I'll tell you that. I miss him on that side. I know they had the Big Ten this year, and they did a great job with that. But he'll finish out with the Sun Bowl, and wish him a great retirement.
Coach, how many of your former players are now coaching, whether it be high school or wherever, college? When you talk to them, when you see them, when they reach out to you, what's that conversation like? What do you guys talk about?
You won't believe how many I have that are coached high school, junior college, professional. You won't believe it. And how many times I go speak to their teams. It is unbelievable. I'm so proud of them. And in fact, Jeremy Flowers, a former player of mine, has just won a championship, and he was good. And I actually played Keith Burns, one of my former assistants. He's a head coach at Country Day in Fort Worth, Texas, and he got all the way. Did so good in the playoffs, and so they bring a lot to say. But there's nothing like that player calling and, hey, coach, I understand what you're trying to do to me one day. I understand. I got a knucklehead that just doesn't quite get it, but he's going to get it. I said, that's right. You're going to be the difference maker in his life.
Right.
You're going to take him where he cannot go by himself. He's got to have you. Otherwise, all you'd have to do is just throw the ball out on the field and say, go get it, guys. And there's some players where you probably can do that, but most of them are going to need your help. And so that's what you love. It's the relationship between that coach and player, and to have your former players now become coaches and have that responsibility. Their eyes are a little wider now.
Right.
They understand what we were trying to do back there during those hot days and during that wintertime workouts. They get it now. So it's a great feeling.
Coach Nutt, I've got just one more that just popped into my head. A good friend of the show is another legendary broadcaster of the SEC who is now at Fox, Tim Brando. Do you happen to have any fun stories about Tim Brando while you were the coach there at Arkansas?
Tim Brando is one of the best, man. I talk to him often. He's phenomenal. He's phenomenal. I love his impression of Keith Jackson. You got to get him to do that. I mean, he is the best at imitating Keith Jackson and Frank Broyles and all that team. He's so good. I got so many. I mean, I got so many stories with Tim. Tim is just, he always has energy.
Right.
And he's got so much knowledge, and he brings so much color and everything to the game, man. He's just phenomenal. Just a great guy, and love being around him. And I missed that guy when he left CBS.
Right.
Coach, my last question for you. I knew I was going to ask you this when Stephen said you were coming on the show. Who do you think is the best young coach in college football today? Who's the one guy that you are so impressed with and can't wait to watch him in the many years to come coaching?
Well, when you look at the guys that got hired today, the Tulane coach, Summerall. You look at Golish. You look at Silverfield. I would start right there. Those are three young coaches that had done a really good job where they are. I watch. I got a former player at App State. Dow Loggins. He's unbelievable. Rhett Lashley played for me. Rhett Lashley's done a phenomenal job at SMU, and so he was in the playoffs last year. He had choices this year, and of course, SMU did the right thing in wrapping him up. So there's always those guys that are up and coming that have done a good job, and I would start right there, and you see how quickly they got to the big dance. They got to the SEC now, and it's not easy. It's not easy, but those guys they'll do a good job.
Coach, real quick, before we let you go, we've got a couple of viewer questions. Would you be willing to take a couple of those?
I got two. Come on.
Okay. All right. Here we go on YouTube. Someone asked, he is a big fan of yours from Hot Springs. How hard was it to recruit there in the state of Arkansas?
It wasn't hard for us because, again, we were raised in Little Rock, Arkansas, and so we knew just about every town. I don't care if it's Fordyce, I don't care if it's Osceola, Mountain Home, El Dorado, Hot Springs. We felt at home in the state. We had a great relationship with our high school coaches, and we were close to them. And we very rarely lost a player. We lost D'Angelo Williams there at the last 11th hour, Brett Smith from Warren. And but the majority of them, man, they stayed home with us. And so I think it's not that it's easy, but I think if you put that effort in
Right.
and you stay, stay tuned. And again, don't be looking for a lot of 5 stars. Bo Lacey was not a 5 star, but look where he ended up. Dan Doty was not a 5 star, but look where he ended up, a starting center. I give you so many examples. That's the difference in Arkansas and I don't think they've done a good job with this in the last 10, 15 years. You've got to do your homework. I always had our guys go to the track meet, go to the basketball game, watch him, not just on the football field, not just watch film on the football field. Go watch him in a PE class. Go watch him run track. We got to know these guys at an early age and then got them to camp. And then we knew what was inside our state. Even we didn't care if he was just a 2-star. We didn't go by that. We went by that heart. Are you tough? Are you tough? Can you run? And do you love football?
Right.
Those are really, to me, the questions. Are you tough? Do you want to be a Razorback? And most, 99.9% want to be a Hog. They want to be a Razorback. And there's something about that. They want to come play for their school. It raises the level of your guys that from Texas, from Georgia, from Florida. Oh, that's how a Razorback practices. So, yeah.
All right, and the other one, John Stringer, who is a friend of the show, would like to know if Tom Mars lives near you.
That's a great one. Tom Mars. When I was in Arkansas, we didn't know each other, but we did live pretty close to each other. When I was coaching the Hogs, we lived pretty close to each other, but I didn't know him.
Right.
I didn't get to know him till Dr. Rex Horn gave me his phone number and I called him when I was at Ole Miss, or I just left Ole Miss. And so he has 2 homes now. He does so good now. He's in the sports world. Tom Mars is one of the famous lawyers in the world now. And I had a little bit of assist with that because he got into the athletic world. He was never in the athletic world. He's a big-time Walmart attorney and a big-time, investigator, state troopers, and, FBI. I mean, he had all these other jobs. And then all of a sudden, as an attorney, as a lawyer, he gets in the sports world. And so I don't live by him now. He has a home, I think, in Atlanta and Florida and Arkansas, but I don't live by him. But we talk quite a bit.
Gotcha.
Hey, Coach, I want to ask you this, and we'll leave it a fun question. What's the most fun you had celebrating a game, celebrating a win afterwards? What's the most fun you had with your team celebrating a victory?
Well, there's a lot of them. But, Texas is you got to go with Texas. Mac Brown got mad at me for doing hook 'em horns and sign down. Now we're good friends now. We're good friends. I apologize to him. And but that was a big one. But I tell you that LSU game in Little Rock is hard to beat, man. It's hard to beat. That was a big one. Tennessee, that emotional win in '99. And guys, here's the other thing you miss. It's the celebrated locker room.
Yeah.
It's when you go in there and you can't buy it. You go in there, sweat, tears, blood, and we did it. We did it. We did it. There's nothing like it in the world. It's the best. So there's so many examples. I'm not answering it very good, but there's so many great celebrated locker rooms and so many great ones. Even the Ole Miss game, when it's 7 overtimes, we started at 8:00. We didn't get on that bus till midnight. And then Tony Bua comes up to me and says, "This pizza's hard as rock." They brought the pizza in there about 10:00. The pizza's I said, Dean Weber, the famous Dean Weber. I said, Dean, there's a Burger King on the way out of town. We had to go to Tupelo to fly out back to Fayetteville. There's a Burger King. Call them. Tell them we need 100 Whoppers. Tell them get going. Let's go. That was the greatest bus ride. We had Whoppers back to Tupelo to get on there. Everybody's eating a Whopper and French fries and having a ball laughing. That's what it's about.
Yes, sir. So, Coach, 12-team playoff as we walk out the door. Who, in your opinion, wins the national championship
Oh,
for the 2025?
oh, Lord, boy, you got me one. I'm gonna tell you something. This thing can go a lot of different ways. You know
Yeah.
what? I'm really a believer right now in Indiana.
Yep.
I'm a
Mhm.
believer in Indiana. I believe in Mendoza. For him to go to Oregon and win, and to beat Ohio State, most people didn't think they could beat Ohio State.
Right.
They beat the Ohio State. Um, I still think Georgia. You better watch out, Georgia. This is going to be a great tournament. This is what you love. That's what you know. When you asked me before about this 12-game playoff, this is what I hate. We missed our groups because I'd love to be in this tournament right now because you never know. You never know what can happen right now. You know, my brothers that coach basketball. I said your ball bounces up and down real nice. Our game doesn't. Our ball bounces every which way. And
Yes,
this
sir.
ball can bounce funny, guys. And so anybody, Georgia, Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, there's a lot of teams that can win this game. When you ask me who's going to win it, it's hard. I'm going to say Indiana. I'm pulling for them. That's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for them because they're undefeated. Everybody's gunning after them, but it'll be interesting.
What game you looking forward to the most this weekend, Coach?
I'm going Alabama, Oklahoma. I can't wait to see that. And I can't give you one. Texas A&M too.
Yeah.
Texas A&M hadn't played. I wish Texas A&M. I kind of wish they were in that SEC championship game, but Texas A&M really they showed me a lot throughout the year, and I'm anxious to see how they respond now after this little time off. And they got a home game. I'm really curious to see how that goes. And but at Alabama and Oklahoma, you got two of the best defenses in the country. Offense, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know about that one. You know, remember, guys, we were talking about Ty Simpson as a Heisman Trophy candidate the first third, fourth, fifth week, if y'all remember.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened right there. I don't know if offensive line. I'm not close enough. I don't know if they got hurt in the offensive line or some. You know, if they had some problems there. But I just know Ty Simpson. I've seen some lot of good plays from him. Now, not lately. But can they get enough back to make a few plays? Because they're going to have to make some plays against this OU defense because they are tough. But
Yes.
then OU offense is not all that. So that's why you can't wait to watch it. And that's what it goes back to your question. You got to decide it on the field.
Yep.
That's right.
You got
That's
to do it
right.
on the field.
We will leave you with this. This has been an absolute blast.
Always is.
Merry Christmas to you and yours, and we would love to catch up with you next year in the college football season to get your takes on some college football, okay?
Sounds good, guys. Hey, enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Merry
Coach.
Christmas.
Have a good one.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Coach.
All right. He never disappoints. That is
Dale Nutt, man.
the Right Reverend Houston Dale Nutt.
You know, we should reach out to Reese Davis and ask him where in the world did he get the Right Reverend from. He was the first one that called him that. We should try to get Reese on the show just to ask him about. You know what, Stephen? Maybe we tell Reese we want you on the show with Coach Nutt,
Yes.
and we just sit back and listen to them talk.
Right. That would be a blast.
That would be fun.
All right. So, Heath, we have gone an hour and 8 minutes. We really do want to thank all of you for staying here and watching with Coach Houston Nutt. When we return on the Wednesday morning edition of the Stingray Show, we are going to be previewing the playoff game between the U of Miami and the Gig'em Aggies. So we will preview that game tomorrow, and then the other ones that do the SEC on Thursday and on Friday. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, and we will catch you tomorrow morning with a preview of the Saturday morning game in the playoffs from College Station of Texas A&M and Miami. And Heath, we've got a little college football this evening.
Oh, who do we got tonight?
Jacksonville State,
Troy.
Troy.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I actually hit the record button on it yesterday. You know, I'm recording all the bowl games. Hey, if you're just now watching the show for the first time, I've been saying it for a while. Record all these bowl games. The reason being, you don't have to watch them right now. But during the summer, when you're kind of missing out and you want to see it, and then you hear about, oh, that wide receiver transferred over to our team and he's from Troy or wherever it might be. You've got that game recorded. Like, I think I'm going to watch that game, see what we got coming in the transfer portal. I'm telling you,
Yes.
record these bowl games. You'll watch about half of them in the spring and summer when you're missing football, and it'll get you all ready and educated for the 2026 season. Isn't that crazy to say, Stephen?
Heath, who you going with tonight in Montgomery, Jacksonville State or Troy? I'm going Jacksonville State in the win.
I have no earthly idea. I haven't looked at either one of these teams. I won't look at either one of these teams, but I will watch that game. So I'll watch it. Who'd you say you're going for, Jacksonville State?
I am, because we had Charles Kelly join us on the show earlier this year, and that guy was a class act. He is the head coach of Jacksonville State, and they were 1 or 2 plays away from becoming Conference USA champions in their first or second year in Conference USA.
Just to have fun, so we'll have something to talk about on the show tomorrow. If you're going Jacksonville State, I'll go with Troy, but there's no rhyme or reason or logic of why I'm doing it.
Yes.
Just so we can have fun talking about it tomorrow.
Okay, so guys, that game is tonight at 8 p.m. We will discuss a little bit of that tomorrow and preview the Aggies and the Hurricanes tomorrow on the Wednesday edition of the Stingray Show. And guys, we are out. Hopefully you thoroughly enjoyed the show with Houston Nutt talking about his career there at Arkansas.
Stephen, it's a little bit warmer today, but I hope you have a good afternoon, brother.
Thank you, man. You too. Catch you tomorrow. Christmas time and the holiday season is fastly approaching, and let me tell you about the best place to get good-looking game day gear. J&J Apparel is your trusted location for one-of-a-kind, officially licensed collegiate apparel for the following teams: Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. They have been serving those fan bases since 2004. Get it online at jnjapparel.net. Once again, that is jnjapparel.net, and there you will find unique polos, tees, and hats for Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss. So head on over there now to J&J's website and get some officially licensed collegiate apparel for the fan in your life for Alabama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Auburn through J&J Apparel. The chill is in the air, and what goes well with cold weather? Soups. The Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama, has the following soups to choose from: meaty vegetable soup, which is absolutely delicious; loaded potato soup; black bean soup; smoked ham and white bean chili; regular chili, which is another great option; or Creole gumbo. Now, the Coker Market is open Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. And to find out which soups they are going to have each day, you can find out at the Coker Market's Facebook page, The Coker Market. So check out their Facebook page today to see what kind of soups that the Coker Market is going to have, and go by there and get warmed up with some of the soups there at the Coker Market. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Ferguson of South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show, has a message for you.
Everything we do here is fresh and custom made, custom to order. You know, I tell people when they come in, you know, if you don't see what you like, ask somebody. You know, we've got the capability to process it, make it. You know, if you want a different blend of hamburger meat, we'll do your brisket blend. We'll do your chuck blend. We'll do your sirloin blend. we do all that right here. We are a butcher shop. It's what we do. So please don't be afraid to ask if you don't see what you like. We can make you any size patty you want. We can make you any amount you want. People call me and say, well, how many patties come in the box? Well, ma'am, how many would you like in a box? You want 12, we'll put 12. You want 25, we'll put 25.
That's just one of the many things that South's Finest Meats has to offer, the official butcher shop of the Stingray Show. For over 100 years, the Bank of Moundville has been a name clients can trust. The Bank of Moundville is more than just a bank. They're your neighbors, your friends, and your community partners. Their unique approach to financial education has always centered around families. They believe that financially strong homes today lay the foundation for a brighter futures for tomorrow's generation. You can call them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is 371-2227 to schedule an appointment to build your financial security. The Bank of Moundville is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender. Jeff Bagwell of Honey Hole Fisheries right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama is a professional biologist who specializes in lake management. If you are interested in helping build the pond or lake of your dreams, or if you need help deciding if property you own is a good location to build a pond, you can contact Jeff Bagwell at 205-799-0192. Once again, that is Jeff Bagwell and Honey Hole Fisheries at 205-799-0192. Contact him today and let him help you build the lake or pond of your dreams, or also stock your pond or lake with fish that you most desperately need. How would you like to live where you love in the state of Alabama? Whether it is you're upsizing, downsizing, retiring at the beach, or relocating for your job, then you are going to want to contact Celeste Hagler, owner of First Class Real Estate South Home Group, with brokers in Tuscaloosa, Orange Beach, and Huntsville. They can help you with the buying, selling, and investment needs throughout the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste at 205-861-5698. Once again, that is 205-861-5698, and schedule a consultation to discuss your real estate goals anywhere across the state of Alabama.